or the oarfish. This has been appearing in Baja California Sur according to information that has been circulating. What is known about this fish? Well, we'll get into the details in a moment. Right now we'll start with the information, but first let me tell you. If you're watching live or if you're watching later, help us out with a like and by sharing. Thank you very much for being part of this community. Two very rare oarfish appeared. Honestly, it's unusual to see this type of fish. This time, a fish like this was said to have appeared in Baja California Sur. We should remember that in Japan, there's a belief that this type of fish can be like premonitors, or more like a warning that a strong earthquake is coming. They say that since they live at the bottom, deep at the bottom of the sea, if they come up, it's because there are movements, because something is happening. There are even studies, and it's not a fish that comes from the sea, it's not a fish, seeing sea fish too, that comes from the depths, that when they appear, sometimes it can mean that there is some kind of movement under the sea, or even that there could be some kind of toxin causing the fish to come up. On this occasion, obviously this image doesn't end here. For example, we're seeing some images from Fukui in Japan, which were captured in February. Just look, and now in the middle of March, this type of oarfish is also appearing in Baja California. According to reports, a woman was walking along the coast and spotted a huge silver fish struggling to survive after being stranded on the sand. The animal turned out to be an oarfish, scientifically known as Regalicus glasley. This is one of the strangest marine species on the planet. The fish, also called oarfish, is scientifically known as Regalicus glasley. The animal turned out to be an oarfish, scientifically Regalicus glasley. It lives at depths of up to meters into the open sea. Although some can live at just 200 meters below the surface, although not all fish.
Unos pueden vivir apenas a 200 metros.
The water, they say it happens. They saw two specimens at the same time on the coast, which is even more unusual. Obviously, this has gone viral. The people present decided to intervene and carefully pushed the fish back into the sea. They saw it there. It was possibly struggling to survive. And among several people, since it's big, it's also quite heavy. Several people approached the fish and started to take it towards the shore. And there's the moment when it finally reaches the shore. And well, it's saved. Scientists note there's no evidence linking fish presence to earthquakes or tsunamis, but the possibility that deep-sea fish could be some kind of signal of geological movements has been investigated. It's a topic that is still under debate. Also, pay attention because there is a security alert from the United States Department of State, and that's regarding Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. According to what the Secretary of State and the Department of State report, they assure that the safety of United States citizens is their #1 priority. Are they working on additional options to help Americans leave the Middle East due to the risks involved in the conflict? This also includes Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman. Well, you know what I mean, right? To the Arab countries, to the countries that are mainly around Iran, and to Iran itself, obviously including Iraq. Massive attacks are also being reported at Iran's ammunition depots, according to the latest reports, over there in the capital. They found out that attacks are being carried out that aim to eliminate the most important depots known to be in that region. Initial reports indicate that there are attacks against ammunition depots in the western part of Tehran, an area where there are facilities linked to military logistics and storage of that country's Revolutionary Guard. Witnesses and videos have shared the explosions on social media. That has not been done in the country. The country.
Muy típico cuando se detona arsenal.
In the country, 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 the country, in the country, the country, in the country, in country, the country, in the country, in country, the country, the country, in the country, in the country, the country, in country, the country, in country, in the country, in the country, in the country, country, in the country, in country, the country, in the country, in the country, revealing vulnerabilities in the military infrastructure in this region is where the attack would have taken place. In this region, towards this area, less so, according to the information available so far. Obviously, it's a conflict. It may be changing, so, well, let's wait for more details. Also, the attack happens while there is high tension very close to there, towards Lebanon. Well, there are also reports of significant movements aimed at disarming that radical group called Hezbollah. However, analysts point out that this group does not want to hand over its arsenal. Experts say they have a network of missiles and strategic systems built over decades. The equipment that Lebanon has here and the equipment that Iran has in different parts of that country, they say that for strategic reasons they have been hiding materials in different locations for many years. At the same time, they are also investigating what is happening, for example, with the pro-Iranian militias that are inside Iraq and also in Yemen. The famous Houthis, a topic that they say might also start making moves, although so far there hasn't been anything significant from that side. Moving on to other regions, it is being reported that a ballistic missile has struck a residential area in Kharkiv. Here we are seeing some of the images that have been circulating showing that a building has collapsed. Basically, it left rubble in a 5-story apartment building. The rescuers have already recovered the people who were there. Well, obviously this conflict gets more complicated every day, especially considering that civilians have been constantly attacked. Meanwhile, what's happening in Hormuz, over there between Iran and the Arab countries, where things are reportedly getting more complicated. And there's a very serious message. Let me tell you, and if you're just joining the live stream, I ask you to help us out by sharing, liking, and following us on Telegram. Make sure you don't miss the notification when we're live at any time, like right now when we're on early. For example, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard says they're waiting. They say, just listen to this. They say they're waiting for the United States to come through escorting the oil tankers because it's expected that the United States will come to escort the oil tankers that are waiting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, which is about 33 kilometers wide from side to side and passes through here. It's obviously very dangerous because even though they don't say the Iranians already have a fleet in this area, they could fire at any point. And well, cause a problem, right? Imagine sinking one of these ships. The Iranians say that they recommend, before making any decision, that the Americans remember the fire on the American supertanker Bridgerton in 1987. Just imagine remembering things that happened in other years. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces show the following map. More than 80 fighter jets that would be Israel, and they would have attacked key military infrastructure of the Iranian regime in Tehran. This has achieved or has been accomplished, let's say, according to them, the following objectives. Here you have the Imam Hossein Military University of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Also, ballistic missile storage facilities, underground infrastructure of the Missile Command, and launch bases aimed at Israel, mostly located in the western and central areas of Iran. These attacks have further reduced the regime's ability to fire at Israeli civilians and also its ability to fire towards other regions, for example Europe or Arab countries. Meanwhile, more than 60 hours without electricity in different parts of Cuba. What we can see here, the little that can be seen, are images of this blackout that has lasted for 60 consecutive hours in some regions. The tension is tremendous in Havana, and protests are already breaking out, which sound like this, with the famous banging of pots and pans. People are angry, they're upset, and these blackouts have become unsustainable. Residents have taken to the streets, banging and shouting slogans, expressing their frustration against the government that hasn't been able to solve this situation. Let's get into the details. What's happening in Cuba? Well, look, residents have taken to the streets to bang pots and shout slogans. Basically, they're expressing the frustration they've been feeling for years with this problem, but it's gotten worse lately. The immediate trigger has been the prolonged collapse of the electrical system, which left large areas of the city completely dark for more than 2.5 days. Witnesses report that the protests began in some neighborhoods and quickly spread even to areas of Havana, a sign of growing discontent. The lack of electricity has affected food refrigeration, access to water, communication, and security, worsening the economic situation, which was already very delicate. On social media and in videos shared from the island, you can hear those shouts and banging of pots and pans, which clearly reflect a tremendous sense of exhaustion. And I thank the community that still manages to connect from time to time. Thank you very much to those who watch us over there and to the Cubans. They are in other countries like Mexico, Florida, Spain, and so on. In other states, the United States, Europe, and so on. Well, I send you a big greeting, and let's hope you stay in touch so we can know how things are going over there in the most direct way possible. The government has acknowledged problems with electricity generation, but the prolonged blackouts are affecting not only the provinces but also the capital, and this increases the political impact on the government right now. The key factor, they say, will be how the current government reacts. Whether it manages to restore the electricity supply as quickly as possible or chooses to implement control measures to contain the protests. But the point is that this is very complicated, and obviously Cuba is currently in the international news spotlight. Just like, well, we're seeing it as one of the main reports out there. You see it in many media outlets despite everything else happening in the world. A few days ago, an image like this was circulating of a tanker, one of those ships that carry oil, which was reportedly set on fire. But now, at this moment, they're reporting that Iran has allegedly attacked an oil tanker, another oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. According to the Revolutionary Guard, they confirmed that there was a drone attack against the oil tanker. Tension is rising and increasing along the world's most critical energy route. According to what they say, this was attacked in the Persian Gulf, in some area of this place. They confirmed that the attack on the oil tanker was carried out by a drone near the Strait of Hormuz, one of the narrowest points, and it must have happened in this area, around here. That's where the attack must have taken place. The affected ship, the Prima, they say, is carrying not only oil but also chemicals and is sailing under the flag of Malta, according to the details. So this ship doesn't... This oil tanker, well, it could be just another one, according to what they say. No. I mean, another cousin, another ship that could be, let's say, one of those affected. No, this would supposedly be the photo. Let's put it up. This would be the ship, an archive image. Obviously, that would be the ship. Yes. According to the Iranian agency, no. The attack happened a few minutes ago after the ship supposedly ignored repeated warnings from the Revolutionary Guard Navy to turn back. They say the Strait of Hormuz is not closed, but in reality, when they try to pass through here, they're told to stop or they're shot at. That's where 20% of the world's oil passes through, 1/5. The use of drones by the Revolutionary Guard confirms this militarization of the Persian Gulf, and the technological sophistication. They're not that sophisticated, but they're effective, especially for attacking oil tankers, which are civilian ships. We have to remember that under international law, it's not allowed to bring in, let's say, high-level weapons. They can bring in some small weapons, let's say very small ones, but really these ships aren't military, they're civilian, so they're very limited by international laws, so they don't have much ability to defend themselves. If this is true, obviously we'll have to wait for more confirmations, but if this is true, then obviously forget about it. Oil, well, it's still going to react even more. Let's see if by any chance there aren't more reactions right now. From oil, let's get in quickly. Look, it's at 90, 80, but since it's already Saturday, the markets aren't open anymore, so no, we can't make it anymore. I mean, you can't see this anymore, right? I mean, not until Sunday afternoon. Right now it's already Saturday in Asia, the markets aren't open anymore. So there's a pause right now in the charts, right? So, well, in that sense, there's not going to be, as they say, a way to know if there's going to be a reaction or not. So, well, we're going to have to leave that kind of on hold, right? Good morning. By the way, I don't know if you're watching live. How have you been? How's it going? How did you do? For those of you watching us over there in the Middle East. By the way, thank you very much to the Latinos who are over there. Leave us a message. How are things going? Darwin, we send our regards to Darwin all the way to the Middle East and to the community watching us over there, who are watching us in Israel too. They watch us from the United States, Mexico, and many other places. Write to us there. Let us know, hey, we're watching from here, this place. We would be very grateful to know where you're watching us from. It looks like everyone knows what's happening in this mess, and that's where everything is focused. Countries like the United States, but also the United Kingdom, allies, even regional ones, are trying to monitor this every second. To understand then, how far are they capable, let's say, of extending this conflict? From the point of view of the number of countries, because in the end, it could just be 3 countries involved, but with the focus that this case has had, Iran attacked neighboring countries, even though those countries did not allow the United States to launch attacks from those places. Despite that, nothing was done. Now, there's also an issue that stands out right now as we're talking about what's happening in that region. The president of Iran, Maser Pesis, who has been announcing that the country's interim leadership is about to be established. According to the statement, Iran will no longer attack neighboring countries unless one of those countries attacks them, supposedly from now on. Honestly, it's not believable. They have been attacking Kuwait and Bahrain non-stop, especially Kuwait, and Bahrain has hit them really hard. I find it odd they're now saying they won't attack. The announcement could represent a significant change in Iranian military rhetoric, but it's not very credible. We'll see. We'll see if there are attacks on those countries in the coming days or not, in the next few hours. Actually, I mean hours. So what Maser Pesis says probably usually hasn't had much value. In the end, it's not the decision of the Iranian president. This goes much higher up. Possibly from Mustafa Minei, the son of Ali Khamenei, who is probably the supreme leader, who isn't even among those from Arteza yet. So, well, here I leave you with several questions. How will Monday morning be in Asia, which for us will still be Sunday afternoon? At that time, we will see how it's impacting the markets in Asia. And if it's going to be another complicated week. In that sense, if oil prices will keep skyrocketing, because then we would be facing an oil crisis clearly. How high will oil go? So far, it's at $90. It went from being in the 60s a few weeks ago, then the 70s, and now it's already in the 90s. And the expectation is, according to experts, that it could reach up to $100 or $150 per barrel, which, well, would be tremendous, because reaching 150 would be very close to that. In 2008, you might not remember, just before the crisis, it reached $147, and then the 2008 crisis happened. Do you think that was one of the triggers? Besides the real estate issue, also the matter of overvalued stocks or certain stocks. There were many factors, but oil was one of them. That factor is going to repeat itself possibly in the coming weeks if things keep going like this, and it clearly looks like things will keep going this way. No, well, because they asked the Iranians and they asked, do the Americans want to negotiate? And now every day they say yes, then no, yes, no. So honestly, nobody knows, nobody really knows. On one hand, Donald Trump says we want regime change in Iran, but the Pentagon has said no. No, that's not it. No, that's not the goal. The goal is to reduce military capability. It seems like there are different objectives. For example, if you ask Israel, they'll tell you, yes, we want regime change. In fact, the United States wants it too, not just Trump. He says that's the goal, but the Pentagon says, well, not necessarily. In other words, that's not the main objective. The main one is to reduce Iran's military strength. So, well, where is this going? What's next? Well, these are things we were analyzing throughout the day. Look, let's go. We're updating. Every hour, every hour and a half, we're updating with the information. It's already been studied. We're here trying to bring you the most important things. Sometimes we might take a little longer. It depends on the news. Obviously, it depends on the news. We're updating live, and we also make some shorter clips. And also, well, in shorts, we have short information for those who don't like the live broadcasts, since there's something for everyone. So, well, that's also an option. Just so you know, well, what we do here is analyze, talk, and discuss international news, obviously. And at night, later at night, we do a longer live stream, more in depth, with more conversation with the whole community. And we react with you to the comments and the analysis. By the way, today is Saturday, so we'll also be analyzing movies and series. A moment to relax at night, right? So we'll be doing that tonight. And obviously, I hope you bring me some good recommendations if you like geopolitics, if you like everything about espionage and all those things. There's a very interesting movie called, well, it's actually an home box office series on Apple Television called Slow Horses. It's very interesting. Really good actors as well. You'll see who they are. They're really good actors, and it's a very well-written series. A light tone, kind of a light comedic tone, but at the same time, it's a bit of drama, action, suspense, but with that English touch. No, because it's about the M&5 or M&5, but from a very different, very unique perspective. If you like that topic, I hope you watch it. If not, there are other options. See you soon. Thank you for joining us. Greetings to the community here now, and thanks for the super chats and memberships. Your support is greatly appreciated. A big hug. See you in a little while. Okay, great. Thank you.